body language at the most recent meetings in Washington, D.C., where they had they're calling them now the seven dwarves were there. I don't know if that means Zelensky's Snow White or Trump is, I don't know. But anyway, what they're saying is after a meeting with Trump, he looked incredibly relieved. And what was being read into that is Trump had said, if you do what I tell you, you'll survive. You'll
Yeah, but
we'll
it's
put you
not
somewhere
it's
and
not just the US.
you'll
I
get
can
away
tell you
with your life.
Ukrainians, yeah, but Ukrainians want him dead as well because as I told you, Ukrainians don't want this war to go on. I'm not talking about 100%, but there's a majority of Ukrainians
Yeah.
don't want this war to go along. The previous UK Prime Minister jumped on a plane twice when there were peace agreements, Johnson, and he stopped the peace agreements, and Ukrainians have said, it's our country. Can we have peace without the UK or the US telling us to keep fighting this war? So people know that he's been puppeteered by the bigger forces at play. Now, what I can tell you is, I think in my second or my third interview, depending on which one we launch next, the guest is from Switzerland, and he's actually mentioned in that interview that he sees the amount of Bentleys and Ferraris in Switzerland with Ukraine number plates
Yeah.
tells you what is happening. And from somebody else of one of my other sources, I've also heard Zelensky has been quietly transferring 50 million a month to the UAE. That's his get out plan. And I
Yeah.
also know that somebody had set up let's just say a private retirement place for him in Florida. So if he plays along with Trump, maybe he gets to go to the US, but I think he's going to rush away to the United Kingdom or somewhere in Europe where he feels a little bit safer.
Well, they'll have to protect him.
They have to
They'll have to
protect him. He will
yeah.
not survive 30 days in
Yeah.
his own country. He will not. And this tells you about geopolitics. They tried to pull it as long as it is. And as you said, the seven dwarfs. What was that telling you? I can even tell you the conversation that's happened there. America's trying to stay out of it. NATO, even though the US is part of NATO, it doesn't have to go to war, even if they create a false flag, which they're trying to create now, to still keep this going. But Trump hadn't invited these people. Trump only had asked Zelensky to come to the White House. The funny thing is, all of these guys flew in uninvited, meet Zelensky at the Ukraine embassy before going to the White House. So they've already had a plan of what they're going to say. But the whole point is there's this picture where Trump is sitting at one end and all of them are sitting at the other end. They were there to say, Mr. President, we need war because our economies are collapsing. The euro is doomed. We need war. And if that is the case, again, I'm just a fly on the wall. If that is the case, the US president says, you want war, you can have war. America would not put a single soldier in Ukraine or
I
come
think you're
to
right.
your rescue.
He's pulling it back and he's putting it on them.
And hey, if you want weapons, we'll sell them to you. And that is the part where we're at right now. Because he needs to
Well,
focus on
morality
Asia
wise,
and China.
that's not very good to sell weapons to kill people like that. But yeah,
It's not, but he's tried to stop the war.
yeah.
Russia, as I said, Putin has had so many red lines that they have crossed on purpose. Again, the information is if they go to war, if they don't go to war and Trump creates peace. Do you remember we mentioned on the show they have frozen 352
Yeah.
billion or
They've
something,
already been
362
spending
billion.
some of it, Farzin.
They have been spending it. So how do you pay back money you've already spent, which belongs to Russia?
And it was illegal.
It
Yeah.
was illegal. So
Oh,
there you
what a
go. So they have problems on their hands. Please do not fly to Europe. Please don't go to Europe,
yeah.
especially starting now to 2026 end, please.